Welcome to your first port of call in all things politics and the polity at midday right here on channels, television and around the country, where we look at the biggest happenings across the country and bring you the biggest highlights of all of them. It's lunchtime politics. I'm Jeff Ruzon. The weekend was super busy, and today has already started on an exciting note when it comes to Nigerian politics. But all of that after this headline. Governor Adeleke re-emphasizes his endorsement for President Tinubu's re-election bid after securing victory at Saturday's poll to continue for a second term in office. Speaker of the Edo State House of Assembly, Blessing Agbebako, resigns. Thanks again for joining us. I'm Jeff Ruzon. Before we get to the big happenings that took place at the weekend, we're following up breaking news from the Edo State House of Assembly, where the Speaker, Blessing Agbebako, has officially resigned. This was confirmed by his Chief Press Secretary. As we speak, the Edo State House of Assembly has sworn in Yekini Idiaye, the member representing Akoko Edo constituency, as the new Speaker of the 8th Assembly. While Angela Eremoto reports that a letter written by the APC Secretariat prescribed a change in the leadership of the majority and deputy majority positions, with members representing East and Southeast constituency Sunday Ojezole and Oje Inegbebo representing Igweben constituency as majority and deputy majority leaders, with Natasha Osarawa as a new minority leader of the House as nominated by the NDC. So that is what is developing, or the breaking news coming in from the Edo State House of Assembly. Blessing Agbebako has now officially resigned as the Speaker. In his place, Yekini Idiaye, member representing Akoko Edo State constituency, is now the Speaker of the 8th Assembly. Well, that the details, we'll get all of the details, because this is politics. There are reasons for everything. We don't have all the details, but as soon as we get them, you will have them right here on the program or in our subsequent bulletin. Let's tell you how Governor Adeleke was declared winner of the 2026 Osun State governorship election, which took place just 2 days ago, August the 15th. And that declaration took place early hours of Sunday. Dependent National Electoral Commission's returning officer for the Osun State governorship election made the announcement at the state headquarters in Osogbo. Governor Adeleke, who has now secured a second term in office, won the election with 511,067 votes, defeating his closest rival, Bola Oyebamiji of the All Progressives Congress, who polled 444,815 votes.
Adeleke Ademola Jackson Nuruddin of Accord Party, having satisfied the requirement of the law, is hereby declared the winner and is returned elected.
This is the manifestation of God's hand, and this is the will of the people of Osun State. So I am glad, because this election has clearly shown Governor Ademola Adeleke is the man of the people. This election has justified that Mr. Governor has performed excellently well.
So you can see the immediate reaction of the governor, as well as Davido, his nephew, David Adeleke, celebrating, and Pelumi there, who is a spokesperson of the campaign council of Imole Campaign Council. So He said the people voted accordingly, and that's voting for accord. Meanwhile, mixed reactions continue to follow the declaration of Governor Adeleke as a winner of the state governorship election, while his supporters hit the streets in jubilant celebration. The All Progressives Congress says it is reviewing the outcome with its legal team to decide its next move. Meanwhile, election observer groups, including Yaga Africa, have released their preliminary assessments, highlighting key observations from the conduct of the exercise. This report by Oyedokun has all the details.
Less than 24 hours after the official declaration, the atmosphere across Osun State remains electric. Supporters of Governor Adeleke and their court party have taken over major streets, singing and dancing in widespread jubilation.
We give the glory to Almighty Allah. Alhamdulillah. The victory recorded yesterday. The victory recorded yesterday. The Almighty Allah did it for us. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Almighty Allah suppressed the will of those that wanted to lord their inordinate ambition over the good people of Osun State. We give it to God.
I thank God that Imale win the election. Imale in Osun State, we thank God darkness already vanished. And Osun State right now, we are now continue to witness a lot of development.
But beyond the celebratory drums, the opposition All Progressives Congress is carefully reviewing the election outcome. In a statement issued by its Director of Media and Information, Kola Olabisi, the APC calls on the police to protect its members from alleged harassment by court party loyalists. The party indicates its readiness to challenge the results, stating it will explore all legal windows permitted by the Electoral Act following consultations with its legal team, while describing the unfolding events as the beauty of democracy. Meanwhile, civil society organizations have stepped forward to deliver their post-election verdicts. During a press briefing in Osogbo, Yaga Africa and other observer groups details their field findings, highlighting crucial observations regarding the overall conduct of the governorship poll.
IREB reclaims its place as an electoral game changer. In the Osun election, IREB asserted its importance as a game changer in Nigeria's election results management. The electronic transmission and publication of polling unit results strengthened transparency, provided an additional safeguard against manipulation, and enabled citizens to independently scrutinize the results process. Independent audit mechanisms such as Yaga Africa's PRVT and ERA 2.0 further deepened this transparency by providing evidence-based verification from the polling unit through the results portal.
We observe a commendable voter turnout and general orderly conduct of the voters. The political parties were present in most of the polling units. Their agents acted according to the law and conducted themselves within the ambit of the Electoral Act.
With the ballots counted and the winner declared, the people of Osun State are now shifting their focus from the election cycle to the business of governance and the swift delivery of campaign promises. Oyedokun, Channels Television News.
All right, so that's our correspondent Oyedokun giving us a feel of what played out. By the way, the governor also sat down that evening after the victory with our political editor, Kimbale, to x-ray what has played out. And one of the things he talked about was what he wants to do with Osun State now as he's been given a second chance for this is re-election for a second term in office.
You know, there are some projects that almost completed, but because of funds, they seized our local government funds for almost 2 years, going to like 400 billion. No government can survive it. No government can survive.
Are you able to ask the federal government to prevail on them now that the elections are over?
I think when I see Mr. President, I will talk to him about it, that, you know, listen, the election is over, and I think you should do that, because it's not easy. Because I always, you know, use the state money because, like I said, one of our agenda is welfare
Of the people.
of the people. So we have to pay salary from it, and of course, our IGR has really improved a great deal. So by the time we finish paying and all that, no more money.
When the music ends and the dancing stops, Senator Adeleke, what legacy would you like to be remembered for?
Well, I would like to be remembered that when Governor Adeleke, as a governor, he left a legacy of making Osun State a reference point that other states can look up to and say, look, go to Osun State, go and see how they do it. And of course, another legacy that I would like to leave behind is that I'm tired of hearing Osun State as a civil, service, state. I want to make sure I move it to industrial, state where investors will come in. As I'm speaking to you, we have
the free trade zone.
The free trade zone is on now.
Industrialization is on your mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
People are working on it.
All right, so those are some of the plans he says he's going to execute. But let's review what had played out in this particular exercise, bringing our guest who is going to help us to break it down even further. Is a professor of English and Applied Linguistics and a barrister at law, executive director at the Osun Masterminds, Professor Oyedokun Alli. He joins us virtually. Prof, good afternoon. Welcome to the program.
Yes, good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Prof, let's begin with your omnibus assessment of what had played out in Osun State. Depending on who you're listening to, but everybody seems to have a consensus, whether for and against, that the people, their will prevailed. The way they defended their votes from the point of voting to the point of sorting, counting, and announcement of results to escorting it to the polling, to the Ward Collation Center, down to literally inundating with their presence around INEC to make sure that things go their way, and now they've made their pronouncement. What do you make of everybody's assessment so far?
Well, thank you very much. To say that the will of people prevailed because of what played out in the manner of casting the votes, you'll be right. But those of us on the ground, for our assessment, don't forget that there are widespread reports of vote buying, vote selling, and what some of us conclude, especially those of us at the civil society organizations, is that this is a pseudo-democracy. If we take it holistically, we will ask ourselves, is this the best we can go as a country? How far have we gone in sanitizing our society, in ensuring that we improve upon the democracy that we have had since 1999, especially this republic? The widespread voting, vote buying, vote selling, the maiming, the killing, the spate of killings, all these came to play. Why would people be killing themselves because they want to go? And of course, when it comes to governance, our mantra is that let the best of us rule the rest of us. Are we saying that those we have now are the best of us? But people deserve the leader they elect. So I wish Osun State all the best. I'm a citizen of Osun State.
So let's talk about this economy of vote buying. In fact, what we hear is that the APC and some persons are alleging that the Accord Party paid. Okay, Prof, I didn't know you were still on.
Soon after, during the election, there was peace. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead, Prof. For a moment, we didn't hear you, so go ahead, please.
The election was peaceful, which is to the eternal credit of the INEC conduct of election. I give kudos to INEC. Please don't also forget that the Vice Chancellor of my university, Professor Joshua Alli, was the returning officer. A majority of my members participated in the collation of the election. by and large, the conduct of INEC, to me, is excellent. I give kudos to them, but notwithstanding, nothing is so good that cannot be improved upon. I want them to, whatever lapses observable from the current election, you know, this is an off-cycle election, should be brought to play in the general election. Thank you.
All right, Prof, let's take the issues one after the other. Let's talk about the one you started with that has to do with vote buying. Let's call it the economy of vote buying. In fact, there are reports that Accord was paying us between 2,500 to 10,000 for the people they paid. They have completely denied that they didn't pay a dime to anyone. APC took it a step further. They understand that APC was paying them 20,000. Of course, there was vote buying as reported by civil society and journalists, but nobody agrees they bought vote or sold vote. So it's quite an issue that we have to look at. Talk to us about when you see the turnout, almost maybe in excess of 1 million people or so out of the 1.9 as against the 2.3 that registered to vote. So 50% plus in terms of numbers of voter turnout. This voter turnout that you've seen, is it about patriotism or the incentives that come with election season? Prof? Prof, did you get my question?
To be the general trend. I spoke before the election, and of course I was on ground in Ekiti. The display of military apparatuses might also be responsible for the more turnout.
Oh dear. Okay, let's hold on for a bit. Prof, we'll come back to you. I'm not quite sure of what is going on with the network where you are. We're supposed to also have another CSO member join us, but let's just do a quick review of the just concluded election, just like we're doing. The executive director of the International Press Center, Mr. Larry Arogundade, had also commended stakeholders in the electoral process for fulfilling their part. Though he pointed out that some glitches, he, however, commends the voters and the people of Osun State for coming out in their numbers to exercise their votes and protect their rights.
I think the Osun citizens, the voters, made a lot of difference in this particular election. We saw that in many respects. First was the fact that there were a lot of tension before the election due to activities of thugs, killings, threats, and all kinds of intimidation that tended to suggest that people might not come out, but they came out in reasonable numbers and quite early. But I also look at one factor that has not been talked about. The fact that in this election, the political parties invested properly in their agents, in their party agents, in the agents at the polling units. And what do I mean by this? You also saw the party agents asking questions, and obviously they knew what they were doing. So it meant that this time around we didn't have transactional polling agents who were just there for the sake of the money. I think we can talk about INEC, and we can say now that there's a kind of continuity in the performance of the INEC Resident Commissioner for Osun State, Mrs. Olutoyin Babalola, who was in charge in Ondo State, and did everything possible. So we had reasonable arrival of officials and materials in time, even though voting did not commence some places. Beavers performed above 70%, but there were still some technical challenges in some areas. But one other thing was the readiness of INEC in the state to respond, to questions and quickly take charge of, because she kept saying, anything you hear, let us know so that we can, rectify that. Then the security agents, the deployment was massive, and there wasn't any polling unit that didn't have, some, security, presence, and we can rate their performance as being, good.
All right, let's see whether we can reconnect with Prof. who has been giving his own review and commentary on the outcome of this particular election. Prof, thanks for staying with us on the program. But for some reason, the network wouldn't allow us to hear you as clearly as would have wanted to hear you on the program. But let me see whether I can get in your thoughts as we continue. I was asking whether when you look at the voter turnout, fairly impressive against what was feared because of the build-up that was heralded by loads of violence and killings. Do you think this is about patriotism or the incentive that comes with it via vote buying?
Hello?
Prof, did you get my question?
You were talking about the impressive turnout. Yes, because of the tenacity of the opinion that, no, they want to make a change. I read Babafemi Ojudu's comment early this morning where he talked about Osun being not only cosmopolitan, but also scientific in their approach to elections. You know, as well, elections different from the entire Southwest. Probably because of, it was a matter of individual persons, not political parties this time around. So probably that's responsible for the turnout. And of course, we also talk about the impressive deployment of the military, the police, the GSS into Osun State some days before the election. I think probably this gave some level of assurance to the voters that it will be peaceful.
Yeah, Prof. So let's also talk about the issue of what we experienced around 8:42 p.m. on Saturday, because we were all here trying to cover the elections both from home, on the field, in studio. I was in the studio till almost 7 p.m. And before we left, when I looked at the portal, it was about 69.92%, which technically, by the time it was 7 p.m., I'm sure it would have gotten to 70% of the upload, which was impressive, given that the election ended just 5 hours prior. So if in 5 hours we have 70% of the results uploaded from 30 local government areas in 3,763 polling units, it's impressive. So can you hear me, Prof? My question is, there was a delay for about 2 hours from when I was monitoring. Were you aware of it? Has INEC provided any explanation from what you know?
Yeah, in all this, there are bound to be glitches here and there. But whether the glitches are a product of sabotage is another thing. It was not reported as anybody tried to sabotage the election. So that was good indeed, except that of the shooting that took place in Ejibo, the home state of the hometown of the candidate of the ADC, that is Right Honorable Najim Salam. So apart from this, you see, we cannot have no system has a perfect system anyway. Even in the US, even in the UK, in Canada, Australia, so many things like that also happen. But if it's not widespread, like I said, I personally gave INEC during the election. I drove around. I said Osogbo, Olorunda, Wodede, Aisu, and so on and so forth. So this is not meant. I mean, this does not mean that we start casting aspersion on INEC. Prof, they have done fairly well, and it's commendable.
We commend them, but we are coming from an election that a lot of people have praised and criticized as well. Every other thing went well until the presidential election, when INEC did a horrible, terrible, borderline almost unforgivable job in its crisis communication and management, where we're all waiting for results of the presidential election. On the day of election, in fact, we got anything meaningful from INEC the next day, almost evening, which was very responsible of the agency, given how sensitive and how high stake that election was. So whether or not President Bola Tinubu won that election or whether it was rigged is going to be cast by that shadow of those moments of glitch. That's why we are very careful when these things happen, that communication is key. Don't you think so?
Well, let me say this. You see, politicians, we have to be very careful of them. When something happens in their favor, they press it to high heavens. But when it doesn't happen to their favor, that is when they will tell you that this is happening. While I agree with you that during the presidential election, 2023, I guess, or 2022, the INEC something was fell short of expectations. But somehow, when we listen to them, and let me also volunteer this information. I was also involved in collation in certain part of, I can't remember now where, because my university was involved. But the truth of the matter is that the report we garnered at that time was that people tried to hack into the system of INEC. But I'm very sure that this time around, they will have put checks in place to ensure that this does not repeat itself again. This does not mean that when they do something wrong, we cannot blame them. Like I told you, nothing is so good that it cannot be improved upon. But in the instant case we're talking about, the report we gathered on the field that day was that some people tried to hack into INEC system.
Prof, we must thank you so much for coming
Don't
on the
forget
program.
our democracy is still evolving. That's not the fact that since 1999 we have had uninterrupted system. And let's give kudos to Jega for introducing beamers. Yes.
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
Yes, Jagai introduced. Jagai was the one that introduced the card reader. I think Beavers was Mahmoud. I can't remember exactly who. But I must thank you, Prof. Professor of English and Applied Linguistics, Barrister at Law, Wasiu Oyedokun, Alli. Thank you, sir, for coming on the program. I appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
And we hope that something will be done to the persons who lost their lives, or for the families of the persons who lost their lives as a build-up to this process, because no soul, no one should have to die because someone wants to get into power. But I want to thank you so much for on the program. We'll continue to keep tab on what's playing out in Edo State and Osun State and the entire country right here on the program. Lunchtime Politics, you've been served. I'm Jeffrey Uzanga.